What's up, y'all? So, I've been thinking about this idea for probably over 15 years now, on and off. Um, and it came to light again because the other night when I was talking to John Gray, who's just a legendary, just a guardian of the Phi Kappa house at Chico, on many levels, old school guy. Um, Everybody in that community, even when I was pledging, you knew that guy's name. Uh, so I was talking to John. John's a great guy. Uh, the stories I'm getting are just amazing, which is what I'm leading into. But then I started talking to one of the guys who I'd never talked to before. His name's Andy Fistrom. And Andy, we, because I posted some stuff. Because there's a private Phi Talk group with hundreds of Phi Tau's. There's like, what is it, like 600-700 people in that group. It's a private group, but it's from all decades. So, and I've been in that group for a long time now. So I'm in there and I start talking to Andy, and we kind of I got into this thing where I was like, there's so much content of like, and I'm talking about just the 80s. Just the 80s is what I'm talking about. The 80s era, pioneer days, Chico in general. Definitely it would be Phi Tau based. But doing a documentary just on the 80s era, because yeah, we became the number one party school in the nation, and Playboy was, that's I mean, that's something else. And there's whole stories behind that. Like, some of these guys on here have stories where I literally, like, I was like, it just blows me away. I mean, just hilarious. Like, you're bent over fucking cackling. How I was howling about this shit. And I responded to him like, but anyways, so Annie and I had some back and forth, and we're still gonna. I still got to get back to him on some things, but yeah. But the idea would be to start kind of working on a documentary that just covers that 80s era in Chico, and obviously Phi Tau would be at the forefront. So for me, now that I've worked on two major documentaries, um, and the guy who's my mentor is just a genius, and I can tap into him with help. The hard thing would be, I've got to get, if there's any footage, great, but and I know there's a ton of still photos, and all those guys from the 80s have stuff. I know they do. So I would have to accumulate all that stuff, and of course they'd get it back, but digitize all that stuff. Um, Footage would be awesome. But even at that, still pictures, whatever's fine. Uh, and then the hardest part would be, that's the hardest part, is putting that puzzle together within the documentary. But the easy part would be the interviews, and just, I mean, scheduling would be, depending on where everybody lives. I'd have to get my buddy it's a camera guy that can handle that, and set up the cameras and the lighting and all that. It's fine, no problem. The interviews would be so fun to do, because already these guys have got stories that I'm like, holy shit, man, you guys were, wow. There's a couple of stories I've heard so far that I was just like, and I'll give you one example. One of the guys posted today. He said, yeah, so we, it was in that, oh no, and that was even from the 90s. So this is a story from 92. This isn't even the 80s. So you can imagine what they were doing in the 80s. This guy from 92 goes, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name right now. I just saw it. I wish I could I'll credit him later. But he goes, yeah, we had, in 92, we threw this huge party on the lot. We went through like 28 kegs in 3 hours. They're charging like $3, $3 or whatever, for beer or whatever. And he's like, yeah, it got so crazy. It was like they made so much money. He's like, yeah, we had to call the cops on ourselves to clear the lot. These fucking guys called the cops on themselves because the party was it was too successful. And that was from 92, so you can imagine the stuff from the 80s I've been hearing. That is just like, oh wow, what a different era, man. Just the wild, wild west. So yeah, what I'm thinking of, with everybody's help and people's permission, and I know there's some things that there's a line, and you got to protect the house, and you don't want people to be in a bad light. Like, you want to tell the truth. So I'd have to get okay about shit that would be in the documentary. But it's serious. It's something that I really want to work on, and with everybody's permission and what you want out there, it's up to you guys. It's not up to me, But it's something that era, that '80s era in Chico. And I think there's way more. There's so much content there. I think it'd be entertaining to get that story out there from just 1980s Chico. So sorry to ramble, but it's weird after thinking about that for the last 15 years that I got a conversation about it with some of the old guys, and some of them were like, yeah, it's you gotta. Andy was like, yeah, we gotta figure out a kind of a line because you don't want to get the house in trouble, whatever, but still tell the truth, So I think it'd be really, really fun. So I think it's going to be a work in progress, but hopefully someday it'll be out there. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, or hit me up anytime with anything, Let me know.